skills on that particular grade level. How we move them, that's a whole nother conversation. We can keep here all day about instructional practices, about the project learning, about the conferencing. So although you see the numbers now, a lot of it, we just are showing you the growth, the mission and direction towards how we make that happen, how we include our special education population. But it's a whole nother conversation about the best practices, the way we use our curriculum as a resource, in that I don't just give the teacher the curriculum and just use it. It says day one, March 1, day one. We don't do that because day one, maybe your children are beyond, or maybe you need to review something else in order to show that they have mastered. Now, how do you know the child has mastered? Well, that's why we move to project-based. What projects can the students be involved in to show that they have an understanding? So it's not just, here's the question, and I'm going to answer it. So we're just trying to sum up a lot and showing you numbers so you have a picture of where we're going. Really quickly, a snapshot, but it's a lot more involved. And I think, you know, a lot of Glendale and the schools in general, parents have to base on numbers because that's what comes out. That's what's going to come out and, you know, y'all going to put it in, you know, what did Glendale do? How did they do it? And so there's so many things that take place, but it's not just, here's a curriculum, you follow it. Because a great teacher has to really look at that and still plan from that resource and not just say, because your child, you can say, well, my child is still struggling with phonics. And you say, well, the curriculum says I need to be on here. A teacher, and we talking to like Glenda, said, well, yeah, maybe this is so, but your child is here, or they're ready for a whole nother set of work because your child's ready to write sentences, or, you know, write, you know, do problem solving, those things like that. And so that's speaking to curriculum, but just trying to, again, what you're seeing is quantitative, but there's so much qualitative data out there that we can tell each parent who attends our school what the areas of need for your child, and what your child's strengths are, and what are the concerns, and how we are addressing them individually or in small groups, and those things, so that we can get there. So what he's saying is that when everything is tested, what you'll find maybe in February is some schools, and I don't know, but what he imagine is speaking to is that it's like, they're not saying we got to get pumped and say, okay, test, and that's all what's going on. We didn't want to do that. So from the very beginning, we said, we're not going to do drilling, skill, and kill, you know, because that's not how we're really preparing our children. So that's why we had to go back and make some adjustments to how we want to show that children have really mastered, how we're kind of conferencing, and it results into this.
So this has been an intentional shift for the schools?
Yes, since I came in. So it's been a shift for everyone. They have just kind of completed the shift. But this is part of the vision, because I was in agreement with the principal that you just mentioned, that we don't want to do this to our parents or the children, because that's not what it's about. And that's what you end up with in high college, where are they truly prepared to function with actually writing, because some of the stuff don't lend itself. The BCRs are that, to say, you know, can you explain this text, but we want more writing, we want more problem solving. So again, this is just a snapshot of where we are, and it is our predictor that, you know, Glendale will do very well. This is what we have to go by, you know what I mean? So if you say, well, how do you know Glendale's going to go? Well, we didn't have this, and like, where are you going from? So we have to capture the data somehow, and just for this platform, it was this way. And the same thing would happen even with our reading. It's just a snapshot, even starting in, because what happens to children, our curriculum goes from March to March currently. And so after MSA, what takes place is that we're now ready for the next grade level. So teaching has to still be strong. We still have to continue to look at those individual needs of students. When they come in August, we don't want, oh God, you know, you got tested in October. We don't want to do that either. That's why we have shifted to projects and continue the conferencing and see, okay, how can we get students to really understand the skill and not just answer the question, you know, read the question and answer it. Do you really understand what's being asked? And you go back to the text and really find this information. And so when they took this test in October, our third graders are at 72%, our fourth graders were at 78%, and our fifth graders were at 72%. So then the whole point we're showing you this is that because of the shift we've made, that we're able to see the growth. And so again, this is just a snapshot, but it's so much more conversation that can be generated as to how we got there, and it just wasn't test. That wasn't taking place. And This was just the difference of the increased level. And so G3 is grade 3, the green G4 is grade 4, and then G5. And so we pulled this data. We do in our system what's called a PMAP, where the principals come together and share their data and share best practices. And so that's why you get to see it clear what it is. But speaking to understanding that this is and of course if you're with teachers, we know those acronyms, but that's why the shift was made. So that's our apology.
So just correct me, I'm assuming that, those are big jumps.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you're tracking what are the main contributors to those jumps.
Absolutely. Right.
And so what are the main contributors to
So
those
that's
jumps?
different than math. Yes, it's very.
But what I will say about math is one of the things that we've done differently this year that we had not done previously is expose the kids to problem-based tasks. And this is something that they do every day. Whether it's a skill that you introduce to your kids, and let's say on the Monday they have this problem-based task, it's something that we're exposing the kids to, which is a word problem or a task that they have to collaborate together within a group to work it out and to persevere through that thinking and to develop the critical thinking skills and the higher level thinking skills that they need to be able to understand the concept and to discover it on their own within a group. And then as a teacher, you go back, you allow the kids to share out. How did you get to this answer? What was your math process? What steps did you take to get here? What were your strategies that you used within your groups? Did you have any disagreements? Did somebody else do it differently? How did they do it? Is that something that you could use maybe the next time you see this again, the strategy that you saw someone else use? So our students now are developing the problem solving and critical thinking skills through our problem-based tasks in math. And I feel that has made a huge difference this year in how we see our scores have jumped up because we have been challenging our kids to think, to develop that high-level skills that they need.
How did you come up?
Well, problem-based tasks, okay, well,
That's
what happened. 5th grade, I was doing problem-based tasks in 5th grade. It was something that was shared through collaborative planning, problem-based tasks. So it then became, let's share it with everyone else. Let's make it something that we do for the whole school. Kindergartners are doing problem-based tasks. They're persevering through these tasks. 1st grade, 2nd grade, so by the time they get to us, they're going to be they're going to be off the charts in their thinking because we are challenging them to think. And that's what's made the difference. Now our students now they got the muscles that they need, to work through these tasks. The lesson can run smoothly because if they can persevere through that problem-based task, whatever comes in your 5E lesson plan format, most of them are going to get it. Most of them will be able to understand where they're going. And then for those that don't, that's why we have our smart groups. That's when we pull those kids in that we need to, get them to that level of where we need them to be.
Let me just interject here because we're getting close to our 11 o'clock time. If we can finish with the slides, and then if we can hold our questions to the end so that those that can remain to hear the questions and the detailed answers can, but those that have to leave can go ahead and go. But we want to finish what we have up here. Thank you.
Okay, so as Ms. Huff and Ms. Marshall kind of all went over this. Just quickly, the part I want to present is how is this happening? We enrich literature. It's not about reading a story, answer some questions. We're building units around language and getting them to be writers and readers. So looking at it, like you said, there are huge jumps. I mean, 4th grade alone made plus a 10. It's just impressive. And it's through the work of the kids and the parents and the community. Something that for assessments for the younger grades, the SRI, which is the Scholastic Reading Inventory, is a basic comprehension assessment. Read this passage, can you answer the question? And this is the data for 2nd grade. So again, making increases, and this is just in comprehension. There's no assistance, nothing. This is just their pure growth as readers. And science data is collected for 5th grade, because they're also required to take the Maryland School Assessment, Science Assessment. So again, just showing increase. And that goes back to, like Ms. Huff was saying, it's not just we're teaching this one skill, we're teaching all of these things together so they become problem solvers. That was it. So if we go back to the video moment, I know some of you might want to take a minute and look at the data that we went through pretty quickly.
So just, I, for a while, was attracted to Glendale in terms of its overall performance when I was running the task force. And the scores were, so Glendale was probably, I'm just trying to think, probably like in the top 40% for elementary schools in the county, but in the bottom 30% for the state. So how has the school tracked over the last 2-3 years? And kind of where do you see